Get ready for a new perspective on the world of law enforcement and social media. Brought to you by PSMA, the experts in public safety social media strategies. And now, welcome to Cop Talk with Chase and Joe.
Hello again. Here we are, Chase and Joe with Cop Talk, PSMA.
It's show number 2. We're pretty much professionals at this point.
I don't know about professionals,
yeah.
but it is show number 2. That is correct.
Right, we're on our way then.
We're on our way. So let's talk a little bit about our recent adventures. We just got back from Louisville yesterday.
Yeah, so we did a 2-day class in Louisville, and it was what was unique about this class was the first class that we had more firemen than cops.
That's
so
right.
A little different for us. Yeah,
that's right. That was a fun time. We had, I think, two law enforcement in the class, and all the rest were fire department or EMS personnel.
Yeah. So pretty unique. We had to watch the fireman jokes, a little bit, but other than that, it was a great group. We had a lot of fun with them. So.
Yeah, it was a great group, full class, and we had a good time. We had some technical issues that we had to work with, but we had
The internet is an important part of social media, so we learned that over the last 2 days. And we learned that it's good to have the PowerPoints ready to go because we were not able to connect to the internet hardly at all.
Yeah, we had a big problem on the first day getting connected. Thankfully, one of the students in the class had a hotspot that allowed us to connect, and that got us through the day. Second day was no problem at all.
Yeah, but, I never did get my own laptop to connect.
No,
so
you never did.
I had to stay focused on the class.
That's right. Yeah, we had a great host. That was the I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. The Bushell Fire Department.
I'm not going to try to pronounce it,
right.
So that's as good as it's going to get for us.
And JT Yodis was our host. We call him Twitter.
Yeah, we nicknamed him Twitter in one of our last Indiana classes.
Yeah, he was here at a Muncie class, and then and he hosted us down there, and he was a great host. And they provided some great food, Chick-fil-A on one day,
and he's not on Facebook at all.
No, he's not. That's why we nicknamed him Twitter,
which is borderline amazing to me.
Yeah, he is all Twitter all the way, and
Twitter.
He does a really good job with it, though.
He's very good at Twitter, and he'll convince you that you should be on Twitter as well. But it's at some point in time, I'm going to break him down and get him on Facebook.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I think he's got a good point, though. I mean, I think any public safety agency, emergency agency, should be on both Twitter and on Facebook because both platforms have a very unique characteristic that's all their own. Twitter is very up to the minute and informative for things like road closings, road conditions, major incidents that are just occurring, whereas Facebook tends to be more story-oriented, where if you have an event or you have an award ceremony or something like that plays better on Facebook, and it's better for the Facebook algorithm more so than Twitter. So they both have their own unique characteristics that are suited for certain things.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think the breaking news point. I mean, I think that's we heard that just talked about over and over again in this last class. And you basically, I think that people expect your agency to be on both. Right. I mean, I think that's what it breaks down to. Right. So, if personally you just want to be on one or the other, that's fine. But I think when we're talking in terms of public safety agencies, people want to be able to connect with you, and they want to be able to get news from you from both sources. So I think that's important.
That's right. We had a reporter from the local Louisville station, WLKY TV in Louisville, Carolyn Callahan, came and spoke to us.
I am so glad that you were doing all the names, because I would have messed up every one of these so far.
She came and spoke, and the news media, and I've, as a public information officer myself working for Delaware County, I had found that through Twitter, most news reporters, news agencies, they follow agencies on Twitter, and if you put something out there, chances are they're going to contact you about it.
Yeah,
because they're looking for story ideas, and they're looking for important stories to cover, and Twitter gives them that insight into what you're doing moment to moment, and that's really where the news is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's a lot harder with Facebook. Facebook is more, like I said, it's more like the if you think of Twitter as the radio broadcast and maybe Facebook as the newspaper or magazine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot easier to get lost in the shuffle of Facebook for sure.
Absolutely,
because you have everything else going on Facebook. It's not just breaking news, but it's just individuals sharing stories and pictures and video and everything that every person likes and they decide they're going to share on their timeline. I mean, you're competing with all of that.
That's exactly right. And the other thing too is the algorithms, the way they work. You can post multiple times on Twitter and update an incident or road closure on Twitter frequently and not really impact your algorithm in a negative way. But if you were to do that on Facebook and you don't get the engagement, then your algorithm starts to suffer.
Right.
And people, then fewer and fewer. And I think some people don't really realize how important the algorithm is. And you don't have to understand it, all the technicalities so much. But the thing with the algorithm is that if you don't have the algorithm really humming along well and working in your favor, then your news feeds are getting suppressed. You're not making it into as many news feeds. So you may think you're reaching a lot of people, but you're actually reaching fewer and fewer people the worse your algorithm gets.
Right.
So that's the problem with Facebook. That's why the algorithm with Facebook is so important. Whereas Twitter, they have an algorithm as well, but it's a little bit different, and you're okay to tweet multiple times, especially about an incident as you need to update it.
Right. And speaking of people not seeing your content, you brought up a pretty interesting topic to me that I had not heard of.
Yeah, there's a lawsuit going on about Twitter supposedly shadow banning, what they say is shadow banning based on content of their users, and there's a lawsuit going on right now against Twitter for doing this, and they've admitted to it so much. And I've got a quick soundbite here from Fox News hat tip Fox Business, Neil Cavuto here, and I'll play this here real quick.
All right, Twitter's at it again, accused this time of some sneaky censorship, but in a very clever way. The Federalist co-founder Sean Davis tweeting that a transcript by anti-Trump lawyer Lisa Page, but the tweets were only visible to him, not any of his followers. In other words, he was like speaking to a vacuum. And otherwise, he would not have been unaware of that. Twitter later admitting that it did make an error. We reached out to Twitter, said that we enforce the Twitter rules impartially for all users, regardless of their background or political affiliation.
So that's the basis of the story. And Twitter admitted to the error. They say it's an error. Other people say they did it on purpose because other people, specifically conservative users or people with conservative viewpoints, have been banned. Or have been their tweets have been suppressed, I guess is a better way to put it.
And I wouldn't have probably thought too much about this if it wouldn't have been for their response. Their response was they weren't really denying anything other than saying that they're not, singling out certain people, but they admit that there was some sort of an error,
right?
With it. So it shows that there's some. He's talking the truth in this, that his tweets were not being seen by people.
Exactly. So what he's saying is true. I guess what has to be determined was it intentional or was it accidental? Did it have to do with the Twitter algorithm, or did it have more to do with maybe an accident, or was it somebody that did it maliciously that works with Twitter?
Yeah, because without that statement from Twitter, I would have just told him that his content sucked. Right. There's nobody who's tweeting you or nobody's looking at your tweets because you're just not tweeting correctly or nobody cares about what you're saying. But
right.
With that response from them, that kind of is a little bit alarming to me. And we know from Facebook specifically, we know that they control some of the content that makes it out to people.
Absolutely.
And we know with Facebook from some of their press releases even that they are intentionally getting rid of content that they think shouldn't be seen by people.
That's correct. That's right.
And they kind of justify it in the sense that they're trying to get rid of information that's misleading or incorrect.
Right.
Which I think is overall a good thing. But who's deciding, what opinions are correct and wrong, and are those being filtered out? And that's what we always tell the police agencies is we're not always probably going to be favored by the Facebook. We're not always going to be
right.
favored by the people that are making those decisions. So just keep that in mind, that sometimes you're fighting a little bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's something to keep in mind, too, that, really, these social media platforms, if they need to be open to whatever viewpoints people want to put out there, as long as it doesn't, it's not inciting violence or anything like that, or racial bias, things like that. But
we as Americans don't agree on much of anything.
Exactly.
So if we start going into this is right and this is wrong,
exactly.
You can't post very many opinions or ideas
right.
without somebody out there saying you're wrong.
Well, and the reality is the First Amendment is meant to protect speech that is offensive. And people, if they find speech offensive, they find something offensive, then don't listen to it or don't watch it. But the First Amendment is meant to protect that because that's exactly what it's there for. Because if you didn't have that, then you'd have no discourse. You'd have no way to get your viewpoints out there.
Right. You know, and we talk a lot about the First Amendment when we talk about legal issues, specifically related to government agencies on social media.
Exactly.
When can you delete a post? When can you not?
Exactly.
Should you hide posts? Should you not? We spend a lot of time on that, and we get a lot of debate in the class. And, one of the things I always tell them is I would not delete much of anything unless you really felt like you had to. And then I would consult with your legal team before you do it and have a plan to document it. And that kind of sounds like a cop-out of an answer. But so much of this is being decided in the courts as we go. Social media legal issues are ever-changing, and some of them are being written as we speak. So you don't want to be the one that's, the laws are created about you.
Right. You don't want to be the headline.
Yeah, you don't want to be. And that's what we try to teach them is just don't get on there and delete something just because, you don't want to deal with it or it's a complaint that you didn't want out there or whatever. And so you have to be somewhat careful on that.
And that's why we go over the comment policy, too, and having a very firm and comment policy that's posted clearly on your website or on your Facebook page, so that people know what is and isn't acceptable, because certain things aren't acceptable.
Sure, yeah, certain things you're not going to let ride.
Right.
That's just
right.
But you have to understand that even on those, sometimes even if you have that, you might still end up in the courtroom.
Right.
But you're having some documentation and some proof to say, listen, we had a comment policy out here. We have a consistent way we enforce this. We're not just getting rid of people that are talking poorly about the police department or that are airing a legitimate complaint. We are enforcing this across the board.
Right. Legitimate complaints respectfully submitted are welcomed. Everybody has a viewpoint and they have a right to have their voice heard. But the problem is if they become threatening in nature, they become or they're profane. These are issues that we have to deal with because.
And what we hear a lot from our students in these classes, because they can be a little real when the chief's not there or the boss isn't there. And we will not tell you which students have said this. But what happens a lot is they'll put a post out there that, a feel-good post. And then in the comments, something negative will come up or something will be aired out. And, next thing they know, they're getting from their leadership that they want the post completely taken down.
Right.
And that's just such a trick bag to get into because now you're getting rid of the comments of everybody on that post.
That's right. It's very dangerous to do that.
You just and it's why are you doing it? Because you're embarrassed because there's a comment.
Right.
Maybe you respond, maybe you just let it ride. But I don't think everybody's reading that comment like you think they are.
Exactly.
It's a select group.
Exactly. And usually when you build a big following, you'll find that your followers will. If somebody is in there talking negatively and it's not really justified and they're just doing it just because they want to generate some controversy, that your followers will actually go in there and back you.
Absolutely, especially if you treat your followers well. If you're responding to them and commenting and interacting with them, they're going to have your back on there. That's the whole point of it. And that's the whole point of being on social media.
Exactly,
is to develop some fans.
And it's about that interaction and engagement with the public,
absolutely,
with the citizens that you serve. I mean, that's part of the reason that you're there is to have that relationship with the public that you otherwise wouldn't have.
Absolutely, and that those are some of the topics we spend a lot of time on in the 2-day class. We talk heavily about community engagement.
Right,
that's the whole reason you're there. Is, building a fan base, getting to know your community, letting them know that you're more than just a badge and a gun.
That's right.
We talk about content creation. Right. Getting them engaged, getting them on your page and wanting to participate and, finding appealing content that's going to keep them reading.
Exactly.
And then the last thing we spend a lot of time on is just what we talked about, staying out of hot water.
Right.
And that's not just your agency, that's your individual officers. We're seeing officers across the country, new headlines every week of police, fire, EMS, public safety officials losing their jobs or being demoted over stupid stuff they're posting on social media.
Right.
And when I teach that block, there are some of those posts that I can argue for. I can go, hey, listen, I don't think he meant this to be this way, or I don't think he meant it this way. But the perception is the reality in that.
Yep.
And the community has felt that those posts were insensitive or there were racial bias or obscene comments in them, and those guys are getting in trouble because the city council, the mayor, your bosses are not going to stick up for you. Especially if the post is just stupid. And some of the posts we share in that class, in that block, are so stupid that everybody in the class is like, how in the world did that guy post that?
Exactly.
But he did.
Exactly.
And some of the people we talked about in the class posted hundreds of racial posts.
Yeah.
So they probably got what they deserved in that.
Yeah.
But you kind of wish you could go back and just go, hey, listen, we'd like to train you on responsible social media usage.
Well, and that's part of it, and that's part of the reason that people should come to the class, because I think that when you see the kind of mistakes that other people make, you can avoid them yourself.
Absolutely. And you see kind of on some of them, and again, not to justify or go to bat for them, but some of them are politically motivated.
Right.
So in that person's mind, they might think they're sending more of a political message, but when they start getting into Black Lives Matter, or they start getting into some of these controversial topics,
right?
The post is not taken as a political message; it's taken as a racist message,
right?
And that is where your agency is going to have a really hard time,
exactly,
trying to save you. Because do you have the First Amendment as a government employee? Somewhat, okay, but if you start doing and saying things that break down the relationship between your agency and the community that you're there to serve, they're going to have grounds to get rid of you.
That's right.
And we're seeing that over and over and over again.
That's right. And that's a big negative factor, and that's what scares a lot of people away from social media.
Yeah.
And why they're so afraid of, why so many agencies and departments are afraid of utilizing social media. So,
and I think what's interesting is when we do these classes, and I've done these classes with civilians, so this isn't just public safety, and I've taught the same block. Mm-hmm. You'll even have civilians that go, well, that's not fair. That they have their First Amendment right, and we'll see that from public safety as well. And,
right.
So we know that we're turning on some light bulbs and we're getting people to realize, hey, yeah, you do have a First Amendment right, but you don't at the same time.
Right.
You're a government employee.
You do, but you don't.
Yeah,
right.
You're held a little bit higher than the average Joe.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and it's something to keep in mind. And the thing is, too, is you need to be social on social media.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the thing, too. You can't just be sit by the sidelines. So it's you have to be engaged.
Social media is so scary because there's people that do it extremely, extremely well, and then there's a lot of us that are in the middle, And so I think that sometimes the fear of, man, I've got to be a home run every time I post.
Right.
This post has to be posted at the perfect time,
right?
The perfect day. It's got to have the perfect image, and it's got right. People can't tell that I made it. I want it to look like it's professional, and all these things. And then you add in the legal side,
right?
You're like, oh man, if I delete that, I'm going to get sued, and if I post this, somebody's going to take it offensively, and all these things. So there's all these things that you can just go, I'm just not even going to post anything.
Right.
That'd be a lot easier here to just not post.
Right.
So
that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that. And we see agencies that go, we're going to do the bare minimum. We're going to post a road closure here.
Yeah.
We're going to post when we hire a new officer or get a dog, but we're not going to respond to comments.
And that doesn't get it either.
No.
That doesn't engage the community. So
and it becomes more fun when you get good at it.
Right.
So as you get more social and you start seeing that response and you start hearing in the community that, hey, your guys' page is awesome. We love what you're doing.
Exactly.
Then you start having fun with it.
Exactly. And that's important too. And you're right. You don't have to post at the perfect time. But again, you do need to take into account the algorithm, and that does affect, the time you post does affect the algorithm, but you have to post.
Absolutely.
You have to post, and you have to be engaged, and you have to be involved. And that's more important than anything else. So if you're not doing that, then your algorithm is irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to get better as you go. That's what I always
Absolutely.
tell the class. I'm like, we're going to talk to you about algorithms, and we're going to go through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I read articles daily about the changes to the multiple
and
platforms.
they change them all the time.
Every day.
Tweak it all the time.
I mean, they change all the time. And, so you can sit there and worry about algorithms, or you can just get out there and do stuff.
That's right.
And you're going to find out that a lot of times, I would argue that if your content is really good,
yep,
the other stuff's kind of second.
Content is king.
Yeah,
content is king.
The most
and you've got to
part.
be able to generate decent content and something that people want to click on and want to interact with.
Yeah,
because that's really what it's about. And timing is important as far as getting into more news feeds, because the more people that are active at a given time of the day part are going to see the post. Then, for instance, you don't post at 3 a.m. for a reason, because people aren't active at 3 a.m. But at 9 o'clock at night, they are very active.
Sure.
So those are the things to keep in mind. But that doesn't mean that if you have a critical event or you have something big, a breaking news thing, you put that on when it happens.
Yeah, you can't control when that comes out.
Exactly. So those are all factors that are you need to think about.
You could be an expert in algorithms,
right,
and be terrible at content.
Absolutely, and you get nowhere.
Yeah, I'd rather be good at content and okay at algorithms.
Right, the content's more important. And the other thing too is, and that's why people laugh when you say that social media is a full-time job, and it really is, because the amount of time it takes to come up with, generate the content, post the content, follow the post, interact with and engage the people as they react to the post, answer questions, that takes time.
Well, I think when people think about a full-time social media manager for any business, not even just public safety,
Right.
but when you're talking about that, they think, oh, well, how much time does it take to write a few statuses, to update the post a few times?
Right.
But you don't think about the quality content and the amount of time you're going to spend in that. It's like any other production. You know, when we talk video, and I always say, Joe, just make us a quick video, and you're like, that'll take me hours to make a video.
That's right.
You know, and it's the same thing with a Facebook post. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, this part might only take a minute.
Right.
But I got to
Right.
do an entire Citizens Police Academy to get the content for this post.
Exactly.
So
and then once you post it, you're going to have people commenting and asking questions, and you're going to have to respond to all that.
Absolutely.
And that all takes time.
Yeah, so there's a lot more to it than just a few posts a week or, whatever people are thinking.
That's
about.
right. That's right. Especially, and I can tell you this, especially from experience, if a post goes viral, it takes a lot more of your time because people start posting. When it starts getting into the hundreds of thousands of views and comments and so forth, you're looking at that thing multiple times a day.
You should be.
Right.
Yeah.
So
To be playing some defense, too, to
Yeah.
make sure that nobody's in there just doing crazy stuff.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So that takes, it takes a good amount of time. So, but these are the things that we talk about in class, and we covered a lot of this just, yesterday or in Louisville last couple of days. And now where we're heading next, Chase? We're heading to.
We will be in Westchester, Pennsylvania, probably around the time this is uploaded and ready to go.
Well, this is going to be this is going to be out tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Saturday.
Well,
we're recording this Friday, but it'll be out. It'll be uploaded Saturday, and so you'll be hearing this before we actually leave for Pennsylvania.
Or maybe you won't. Maybe you're
Or
going to
maybe
listen
you
to
won't.
this in like 3
Maybe
years.
you'll listen to
maybe.
that's right.
If you're listening to this in 2020 or 2021.
Hopefully we have a lot of listeners.
Yeah, I hope so. But anyways, we'll be in Westchester, and then we'll be back in Indiana for a couple of classes in April.
Right.
And then we head to California in May. So one last thing I do want to add before we go off here is the Government Social Media Conference in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, that's right. You're heading to that.
Yeah, that
aren't
is
you?
coming up the first week of April, and I will be attending, and I think that they are just shy of 900 registrations right now. So it's going to be a big conference. It is all social media and public information officer oriented, and looks like it's going to be a blast. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, I need to get involved with some stuff, this conference should be a really good one. So,
Right. Well, we'll look forward to hearing all about that when you get back from it.
yeah, I'll have all kinds of content. It's just going to take me a week.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so.
That's right. Now, how can people listen to this podcast? Let's make sure people understand that I'm thrilled to death. We are on iTunes, finally. It didn't take too long. We're on Spotify. We're going to be on iHeartRadio here very shortly. You can download us, but if you like the podcast, we really appreciate that you subscribe and download and share us with your friends because we need to get the listenership.
Right now we are tweeting and there's nobody out there and we have nobody to sue. It's just our fault. So help us out. And as far as where to listen to it, that's Joe's thing. I have no idea. So I find it on our website every time.
Yes, you can go to, what is our website, Chase?
It is www.psmatraining.com.
Right. And
it's under Cop Talk.
That's right. So the podcast is available on our website. It's also available on iTunes and Stitcher, which are the two biggies. Also on Google, you can find us there as well. And please do listen and subscribe. Press the subscribe button on whatever your favorite platform is, and share us with your friends. Like I said, and if you have any questions, if you'd like to have us cover a specific topic, or you have some questions about maybe something we've already covered or that we've talked about on the show, you can email Chase. And Chase, what's your email address?
You can email me at cwinkle@psmatraining.com, or you can tweet us at PSMA Training.
Or even message us on Facebook.
Yes.
Yes.
We respond very well to all of those.
That's
so
right.
However you want to reach us,
That's
we'll
right.
get back to you
That's
pretty
right.
quickly.
So email or Twitter or Facebook, any way you want to reach us is good, but definitely interact with us. If you have questions or if there's a topic you want covered, let us know, because we'd be more than happy to talk about it. And if you think you have something interesting to add to the show and you'd like to come on, we can also set something up and give you a phone call and get you on the show, and you can talk to us if you'd like. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to have some guests coming up. As a matter of fact, our friend Twitter is going to be here in Muncie coming up. when is that class? That's in April.
It is April 11th and 12th in Muncie.
And we're going to have Twitter's going to come and join us in the studio here, and we're going to have him on our show, and we'll be having a few other people coming in. So look forward to that as well. And I'm trying to think of what else we did. Well, just Louisville was fun. We enjoyed it.
It was fun. We ate really well.
Yes, we went to Doc Crow's.
Doc Crow's restaurant in downtown Louisville.
Right, it's a Southern Smokehouse, and Chase had
a little bit of everything. You know, I like to try.
He likes oysters.
Menu items that jump out to me. So had a variety of oysters on the half shell, some fried oysters.
Yeah, they had oysters from all over the place too.
We did. Yeah,
I don't understand why I was in Louisville and Chase was eating oysters from Connecticut.
I will eat oysters anywhere I can find them, and Joe did not eat any.
No, I don't like oysters.
That did not stop me from ordering 24.
I grew up in Connecticut, and I don't like seafood really to speak of. But yeah, they had Connecticut oysters there, so Chase enjoyed some Connecticut oysters from.
Yeah,
in Louisville, Kentucky. So
you can believe that we will eat well everywhere we go. That is one of the things we make sure to do.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Well, that's about it for today. And again, I appreciate you joining us, and definitely give us a follow, give us a subscription, and or subscribe to us, please, and reach out to us if you have any questions or anything you'd like us to cover. And we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Cop Talk. To learn more, visit our website at psmatraining.com.